I'm sitting across the table from someone who doesn't like their birthday being a big deal, so it was Nick's birthday. Moving on. You're going to be gone next week.
I am.
Where are you going to?
Me and my road dog.
Woof woof.
Elton.
Not me.
Yeah, not you. You're a busy boy.
Busy boy.
I'd love you to be there, but
yeah.
Elton and I are gonna go on a little road trip just cause it's fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna go towards Louisiana, I guess.
Burn some rubber.
And yeah, hopefully it's fun.
Yeah. No plans, just
no plans.
See what comes your way.
Just going.
Oh, that's what we should have done. Well, I guess we could do it as like a celebratory thing. But yeah, when you get back, we'll watch Wild Hogs.
Okay. Yeah.
What you're doing is a lot like Wild Hogs.
It is a lot like Wild Hogs.
Yeah.
I'm the guy with the Apple computer tattoo.
I remember that. That's the one bit that'll never leave me.
Mm-hmm. Same. I don't remember.
I remember him saying like, I got the Apple logo, and they're like, why? And he's like, they say something like, it's copyrighted, or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but it's my body. They can't do anything about it, or something. Yeah. Yeah. Any other news to address before we move forward?
It's currently 9:30 in the morning. We usually record these about 12 hours later, but we both have packed schedules. So sorry if
we do, yeah.
If we're a little sleepy.
I guess personal news. My mom's moving 2,000 light years away from me, so I gotta help her go load up a U-Haul pod thing that they like ship to Arizona.
What's a U-Haul pod?
It's like a U-Haul without the wheels on it, and then they just pick it up and
it's like
carries it to Arizona. It's like a box. It's a big box.
It's a
mega box.
Like big metal ones, like a storage
not that
shipping
big,
container.
It's big enough for like an Elephant Man.
Okay.
It really is.
Okay.
She was like, you cannot address how tiny it is, or I will cry, because I know it's not enough space. So we'll see how it goes.
Classic mom.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. We watched 2 movies this week.
Oh, we did. We tried our damnedest, and we did.
Yeah, we did. We made it happen. I think we watched 2 pretty good movies.
We saw one movie that's in theaters at home.
Yeah.
And then we watched one movie that no one's seen in theaters in 20 years in a theater.
Yeah. Up first, I think this is a good play. Front load it with the movie that came out most recently.
Yeah, probably.
For anybody who's curious about that kind of a thing. So the most recent movie to date that we've seen is a little movie called The Fabelmans.
It's a summer Spielberg. We didn't forget about it.
We never forgot. He's always living in our hearts.
And it's never stopped. It's January 22nd. It's the summer Spielberg still.
It's just like my grandfather said. He moved to Florida for endless summer, and I'm alive for endless Spielberg.
Do you have any what's your history with like Steven Spielberg movies? Like what's your favorite Spielberg movie if you had to pick one?
I'd actually have to look real quick.
Yeah, because it's insane. There's a lot of movies that I like, and then like I'll look them up and I'll be like, oh shit, this is a Spielberg joint.
All right, let's just take a look at the filmography real quick. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a movie I have not seen, but I'd like to. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is a great movie, fantastic movie. Travesty, I didn't put it in my top 100 when I made my top 100, but hey, sometimes you look back and. E.T. is a movie I haven't seen in a long time, and I'd really like to see E.T. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom has some bright spots, but I don't think it's as good as Raiders. The Color Purple is another movie that I've been meaning to see for a long time.
Did he direct that?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Hook. I actually really love Hook.
He directed Hook as well?
Yeah, I love Hook.
Fuck, I did not know
deeply. I think Hook's a great little story. Jurassic Park is obviously amazing. Great. I don't care about any other Jurassic Park. I'm not going to watch any of the other ones. Sorry, that first one's good.
I never seen no Jurassic Park. Did you know that about me?
We could see it in the theaters.
I saw Jurassic World, though, in theaters.
He also made Schindler's List, another movie that I would like to see, but I have not seen. Saving Private Ryan is another movie I'd like to see, but I have not seen. AI, Artificial Intelligence, I saw as a child, do not remember. I've heard people talk about Minority Report. Catch Me If You Can, mildly interesting. I have seen The Terminal. You ever seen The Terminal?
No, but Catch Me If You Can is my answer. That's my favorite Steven Spielberg movie. I love that movie. If that movie's on, I am watching it.
I've seen The Adventures of Tintin, but I don't remember it. But to go back to The Terminal, it's like, I think, based on a true story about a gentleman who, like, traveling the country he left became not a country anymore. So he just lived in an airport terminal for years.
Yeah, he passed away this year, I believe.
Yeah. It's nuts. War of the Worlds, I remember seeing that. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, goated classic, best Indiana Jones movie. Adventures of Tintin, saw that in the theaters. Horse didn't see it. Lincoln didn't see it, but that's the one where Daniel Day-Lewis plays Lincoln, right? Bridge of Spies, didn't see it. The BFG, didn't see it. The Post, Ready Player One, ugh. And the Fabelmans. My favorite, God, it'd be a tricky. Oh, I also forgot to mention Jaws, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Honestly, it'd be kind of like I don't know. I would give you like my top 4 being just like Raiders, E.T., Hook, and Fabelmans, but maybe Hook being my favorite, as odd as that is to say.
All right.
I don't know. There's something like, at least in my head, like I've conjured this like almost mythical level of like just the dark, as in nighttime, not dark as in like tonally. Just this, the opening that is in my head with like, I think the grandmother's home alone. And the rest of the family is at this play, watching the kids do a play. And then they come home and it's obvious that someone's like broken in or whatever. And it is a little dark or whatever, but it's basically like it's Tink. And there's just this whole thing where like Robin Williams is Peter Pan, but he left Neverland and grew up and doesn't remember it, kind of a thing. And like they bring him back. And I don't know, it's just like...
Isn't there a scene where overweight...
Oh, that's what it is. Hook comes and kidnaps his children.
Oh.
And brings them to Neverland, so he has to go to Neverland and save his children. That's what it is.
Isn't there a scene, I think this might be the only thing I remember about it, where a heavyset kid lifts up both legs, turns into a ball, and then rolls down a hill?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Okay.
But I do remember there's a scene where like they're all eating nothing. And Robin Williams was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Or whatever. And they're like, you gotta believe, whatever. And then once he turns his imagination on, they're eating a bunch of sloppy, colorful goop. And then they have a food fight with it.
What are the chances I made up that the fat kid turned into a ball and then rolling down a hill?
I'm saying 50-50. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Raiders is probably the better movie. I liked the Fabelmans. And
now that I think about it, it might be a tie between Raiders and Catch Me If You Can, which is, I think, an insane sentence to say. I don't think anyone else feels that way, but I don't know why I just have a soft spot for Catch Me If You Can.
And I feel bad saying it without having seen like E.T. recently. And also I'm sure that Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan's are like amazing movies.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'd be my favorites, is all I'm saying, like compared to something like Raiders or E.T. or...
It takes a lot for me to see a war movie, so I don't know about Saving Private Ryan ever. Like I would
probably watch that before I saw Schindler's List. I feel like Schindler's List might be a little too heavy, but at least Saving Private Ryan has kind of like a spectacle thing, I guess, where it's just like...
I was just listening to an interview with him.
Band of Brothers I also want to watch. But,
and I could be getting the movies wrong, but I believe Schindler's List and Jurassic Park came out in the same year.
What a killer year.
Yeah. And I think what happened...
That's how you tell him I'm Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. He said, he was talking about, he was like wrapping up, like had done all the principal photography on Jurassic Park, and like all the dinosaurs were done, and it just needed to be like mixed and edited and like color edited and stuff like that, and like it just needed to be edited. And then I think someone told him about Schindler's List, and he was like, I could do this right now, or I could wait however long I need to for like the next cycle of being able to make a film happens again.
Yeah.
And I might not have the fire to do it anymore because I really want to do this right now. So he went to George Lucas and was like, hey, could you finish Jurassic Park for me while I go make Schindler's List?
And before any of that happened, this man was a child.
He was.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact I know about him, he friends with George Lucas, which is insane.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, I don't really like George Lucas. I think George Lucas might be a hack. Who just happened to surround himself with a bunch of other very talented people and gets all the credit for it. Anyway, they were hanging out after Jaws, I think, or something like that. And George Lucas was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do next? And he's like, God, I'd love to do a James Bond movie, but I've asked over and over again, and they just will not let me. And George Lucas was like, shit, I got this thing called Indiana Jones. It's basically the same thing. Just do that. Which I think that's a lot of fun.
It is.
But before they had that conversation...
He was a child.
You know what that sound is, Chris?
What does that sound, Nick?
Cinema.
Whoa.
I have the camera that they used to film the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Isn't that fun?
That is a lot of fun.
Right?
It's exactly the word I'd use for it. Crazy.
Oh yeah, mail time.
The Fabelmans this week gets an email, so I'm reading it off of my iPhone 13. Cinema, baby. The lights, the sounds, the magic. Go to the movies and transport yourself to another world filled with spectacle, where your wildest dreams come true, and Seth Rogen isn't cuckolding your father. It's more fun at MJR. Is that how you do it? Is it the 4 claps? 7 out of 10.
I know, how many claps
No, it's
is
like...
it?
Isn't that what it's like?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
that.
because it goes
It's not
bap, bap, bap. Every time I go to a movie
Go to the show.
and I'm there and nobody claps during that, and I can hear the music beats of the dun, 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 I get chills. I'm like, that's good. That's so much better than hearing a bunch of dipshits clap. It makes me so mad that people clap.
That's funny.
And it's like the most curmudgeon. Like, I know I'm wrong. That's
Yeah.
bad. I shouldn't be thinking that. But every time I do, it just makes me so mad.
What can you do? Your history with this movie?
I own it.
Fantastic.
We couldn't. It's hard to. It's not playing in a lot of places nearby us,
And we don't know a guy.
and we don't know a guy, so we bought it off of Amazon.
Also, that sucked.
Yeah, fuck it. Hey,
Amazon sucks.
the Amazon Prime Video app blows ass.
The Amazon buying things online app blows ass.
Yeah, it. We watched.
The only thing they're good at is getting you whatever you just ordered by 7 p.m. tonight for some reason.
Yeah.
So often it does that. I'll be like, hey, you can have it by tonight. I'm like, okay, cool. Is there just a van like rolling around with like a one that someone like canceled last minute or something?
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
I think there's a warehouse real close to us. But the app, we watched most of this movie in 360p, with subtitles, which we did not want on. But every time I went to go turn them off, the app would crash. So, Jeff Bezos, enough with the stupid fucking rockets. Get your shit together. Give away a lot of your money and give away a lot of it to upgrading this stupid app so I can watch The Fabelmans.
And that's something I have a problem with sometimes, not always, is this is not a fault of the movie, but like when the captions are on and it's like a very dramatic thing, I'll kind of be like a little too focused on like reading and not really like taking it in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
like
it's a
I
disconnect.
So
I had to really like try to like put my hand up over the captions and just pay attention to movie.
Yeah, like it really bothers me when people are like, subtitle supremacy. Like, you should always have subtitles on. And like, oh, what, you can't read fast enough? Is that why you don't like
It's
having
like, no, I can
subtitles
read
on?
too fast.
I
so
can
it
read too
ruins
fast.
timing.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
ruins the dramatic timing of the scene.
yeah. Like if something happens and someone's like, oh man, I just don't know what's happening, and then they get shot, and I can read the subtitle says, I don't know what's bang.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna get shot in half a second.
Yeah.
And then like you said, I'm so focused on reading that I'm not taking in whatever else is happening. I don't mind it with a
Foreign film.
because you got to do what you got to do
Yeah.
sometimes.
And there are some very dramatic foreign films like A Taste of Cherry that I love. You know, or even like India Song. But
Old Boy.
Yeah. But yeah, when I know the language and I'm also reading at the same time, it's just, like I said, I can just read so much faster than I hear things.
Yeah.
Not
that
even a
sucks.
brag or a flex, it's just natural. Anyways, I'll talk about my history now. My history was a lot of people, you know, recommending, saying, hey, I gotta see this kind of thing. And I don't know, I was being kind of, I guess, a curmudgeon. I was just being like,
Same.
It's not my kind of movie. I'm not gonna go watch an autobiography about Steven Spielberg. I want something real, you know, or something like that, you know. I don't know why.
I didn't feel that strongly about
Oh,
it.
I did.
I was just like, I heard that's what it was, and I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna run out and go see it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if I have nothing going on a Sunday in a year from now when it's on Netflix, yeah, sure, I'll probably check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I gotta eat my own shorts. I actually really like this movie. I like the performances in this thing.
Oh yeah, everybody in this movie is top of the line, except for maybe the kid who plays Steven Spielberg. But everybody else, I think, is pretty.
I thought he did pretty
good.
alright.
I don't think he did bad. I just think everybody else did much better than him.
But yeah, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, and then what is his name? Is his name Gabrielle LaBelle? Is that the little boy?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul Dano's my man.
Paul Dano's the man, yeah.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
Love him and everything.
Yeah. And yeah, this was like a surprisingly like honest and I guess like I mean this in a specific sense. Like there was a lot of like situations that little Mr. Fabelman had found himself in that were like emotionally complicated, like just like the Seth Rogen scene, for example, where he has bought him that camera because he believes in his dreams, but at the same time he's like, this dude's fucking my mom and ruining my relationship, and just like the like that to be in such a hard situation to be like, fuck, this is someone who's spending a lot of money on this thing because like they're like, I believe in you. You need to do this, but also it's like in my mind right now the literal like worst person I've ever met.
Yeah, it's...
like, and then when he ends it with that whole thing where he's like, you know what I mean? He's like, you can't stop making movies to break your mother's heart, and she doesn't deserve that, least of all from you, you know, or from anyone or whatever. At least all from you, or whatever. Like, ugh, rough.
Yeah,
rough,
it's rough. I love that this movie was marketed as Steven Spielberg's love letter to cinema.
Yeah.
And it is not that at all. It is him like, hey, here's what I was doing to escape the fact that my parents were like, they didn't even suck. Like that's the thing that I like the most about this movie.
Yeah.
Nobody, with the exception of the anti-Semitic bullies at the end.
Yeah.
Nobody in this movie is bad.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
Seth Rogen seems like a great guy, other than the fact that he just happened to be in love with someone's wife and didn't go about it the way that like you quote unquote should.
Yeah, and same with his mom. It's like his mom
clearly settled and wasn't necessarily exactly like living the life that she wanted.
But it's still absolutely, like, I don't know if she's like projecting or being too nice about it, but she clearly loves Paul Dano.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, is it a romantic love? Is it like a for the rest of my life love, you know?
Or is it like a just...
I think this is a great person and we spent so much time together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she also... I can't tell if she's... She is. She's a little not all there.
Yeah.
Like, she gets that phone call
from
mental
illness,
the ghost of her mom and stuff like that. And so you're never mad, really mad at somebody as a person. You're like mad at their actions, I guess. And you just can't help but love everybody in this movie except for the bullies.
Yeah.
Until the very end. And it just, there's something about a Spielberg production that even, like, I'm lukewarm on this movie. It had me the whole time.
Yeah.
Up until it was over, if a Spielberg movie is playing in front of me, I am hooked. He just knows how to make a movie that makes me want to sit there for the 2.5 hours and watch the whole thing. Yeah. And even if it's over, and I'm like, that wasn't my favorite thing in the world. I don't feel like I wasted 2.5 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And it just, she buys a monkey and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll speed through the plot just to get us to like specific places or whatever, but you know, it opens with them, his parents, Paul Dano and Michelle Williams, taking a young Fabelman to the movies for the first time, and he's very scared. He's afraid of the dark. His dad explains what a motion picture is to him, and you know what? This guy loves movies.
Transfixed.
Yeah.
By, what is it, The Greatest Show?
Yeah, I think so. Anyways, he becomes obsessed with the image of that car getting hit with the train. His dad gets him a nice train set. He smash it. And he keeps saying that he had to see it, you know, and his parents are really trying to wrap their heads around, like, what do you mean he had to see it, you know, kind of a thing. And I think his mom kind of like, in a sense, kind of gets an idea. It's almost like, at that point, the closest thing, it almost seems like, you know, maybe she understands it from the place of like exposure therapy, like he is afraid of this thing and he needs to watch it to kind of like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. But anyway, so she's like, well, here, if you need to watch it so bad so you're not smashing it all the time, we'll record it or whatever, and then you can watch it anytime you want, kind of a thing. So she buys him a little camera and some film and stuff, and he does just that. But she says, you know, you can only smash it one time.
I love this,
yeah. And then later on, he's like, I had to smash it a bunch of times, you know.
Yeah, I love it. They get in the closet and they watch it, and there's cuts and there's edits and there's reenactments and things happen over and over again. He's like, I had to do it a bunch of times, but don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. And I love that going into the closet is like a reoccurring thing that they do together. Flash forward, and I think he's now in the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
This has kind of like young indie vibes, like a
Yeah, he looks like Joaquin Phoenix at the beginning of 3. Yeah.
yeah, and they're catching scorpions to sell them to be able to buy film so that they can shoot movies together and stuff. And
Apparently, all these movies that Sammy Fabelman is shooting in this movie are actual student films are actually
child films.
amateur movies that Steven Spielberg made
Yeah.
as a kid, and he just was like, it'd be fucking sick if I could just remake all these movies I made as a kid. If I could make them now as a 95-year-old man with a 4K camera.
Do you think he still has some of the original prints of the movie?
That's a great question. I don't know. It would be
What a treasure.
It would be super cool if he did.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie would be a little bit cooler if he didn't. If he just remembered all of them, and he remembered like all the tricks where he's poking the pinholes in the film to make it look like the guns are firing, or like the fake like landmines that they're making and stuff like that. All that stuff is super cool, and it's even cooler if he just remembers making all that stuff in the 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: the kid that plays Sammy Fabelman, Steven Spielberg taught him how to use that camera, and how to edit the film and stuff like that, so he knew what he was doing. So
that's awesome.
I guess look more believable, but just without using the excuse of it'll look more believable. It is just very cool to know that.
I think one of the earliest things they're doing is in the back of that stagecoach. And the gentleman who's renting it to the day, he's like, here for the day, he's like, you getting dust all in or whatever it is. Dad's just like, well, vacuum it out, don't worry, And
I love that. I love the back and forth of the Paul Dano character, his father, being so supportive of his son and everything that he does, but also at the same time just, oh no, this is a hobby. You need to get a real job and stuff like that. And even there are the little moments where they're driving in a car one time, and his dad's a science man who's making computers and stuff.
Yeah.
Just like cock of the walk. Is that the expression? Is that an expression? He's the cream of the crop. He's just the big science guy who's getting bought up by IBM and all the other science places. And he's like, one of them says to the other one, like, oh no, what you do is basically what a movie director does. And he goes, yeah, you're right. And they bond about that a little bit.
Yeah, he says it, and then his son says, yeah, you know what, you're right. Yeah.
Or when he's like, how'd you get the guns to look like they were actually firing? He's like, I poked pinholes in the film.
Yeah.
So that, and like that, and I love how that's set up too, when it's with the mom play the piano or whatever, and she steps on her sheet music.
Yeah. And
he picks it up, and there's that stiletto heel mark through it. A hole through the paper, and he just looks it up and then puts it down, and they draw no attention to it. And I think it's a little bit later too, like it's not even the next scene, or you don't even see him poking the pinholes in it.
His dad just says, how'd you get that there?
Yeah, and then he tells him, and you put together that those are what happened, and his dad goes, oh, it's a real engineer brain thing to do. Like his dad is happy for him and excited for him in both of these moments. He's like, oh man, my son has the same type of mind that I do, but he's using it for something else. And then that's why it makes it so much more heartbreaking when he's like, no, I want to make movies. And his dad's like, no, you need to do something that matters, that has substance.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's also one of those things where, like, to a degree, his dad does get to chase what he loves in the way that, like, he's telling his son not to, and his wife doesn't. She gave up on her dreams. But he literally just gets to be like, hey, I just got a bitchin' job in Arizona. We're going to Arizona.
It's just more time to go to California. Yeah.
And they hate that move in Arizona. They hate that. It's not as bad as the next move, but they're not happy. But that's when they start. He just starts catching the scorpions and stuff. We just glossed over that thing as like something that is honestly pretty important to the movie. He literally gets brought across the country by happenstance to where movies happen, even.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy turn of events. But yeah, it is a sad thing, and it's also something like even from personal experience. Like I remember when my parents were like, "We're moving to Virginia." And that was nutty. It was like I can remember like literally like writing down like. It was in that moment that I became conscious of the idea that like things change, life goes on, you forget things, you get older, you might not ever go back to your hometown kind of things. Like I just remember like writing out like these are all the friends I don't want to forget, these are all the TV shows I liked, these are all like the superheroes I liked. Like I don't want to, like when I'm an adult, I hope I still have this sheet of paper so I can remember who I was then.
Do you still have that?
I don't want to forget that. No. No, absolutely not. But I was like, I want to remember who I was kind of a thing. I don't want to forget.
When they announced their move to Arizona, everyone's real upset about it.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, no, Mom goes, what about Seth Rogen, though? what about Seth Rogen? And I jokingly was like, uh-oh, I think Mom is sleeping with Seth Rogen. And you went, oh, yeah, no, I know. She absolutely is. Someone told me. And I went, oh, okay.
Sorry, did I ruin it for you?
It's fine. And they see a tornado outside. Mom goes, let's get in the car and drive toward the tornado.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Mom's not together.
Yeah.
And there's so many things kind of like that. Well, no, that one works. I feel like that is something you would see in a movie. But something I do really enjoy about this movie, there's like really strange moments, like when she slaps him.
Yeah.
And he like turns around at the last second and she hits him on the back. So he's got this big handprint on his back. That's like so weird and like out of place and like kind of like it just sits with you wrong. Like this doesn't seem like something you should be putting in a movie. Like if somebody wrote it in a script, I'd be like, that's change this somehow. I don't like it. But since it is the story of Steven Spielberg's life, it's so weird and so specific. It's like, oh, I really like this and this really works because very clearly this is a thing that one for one happened to you.
Yeah.
And I feel that way for a lot of the movie.
Which is also a really difficult point in the movie because at that point he had the camping trip, which is capped off with like Industrial Symphony #1 by David Lynch, like where she's in the headlights dancing his mother, and like again it's one for one, like too weird, like too oddly specific. Like the sister spends the whole time freaking out, like you can see her underwear underneath it, Mom, stop, and like everybody else just be like, no, let your mother have this moment or whatever, and her just like freaking out. She's like, everybody can see her underwear. What are you doing, Mom? Stop doing this.
Yeah, that seems weird because Paul Dano's like, nah, it's cool. And Seth Rogen's like, nah, it's cool. And I get that. And meanwhile, Steven Spielberg is sitting there like, nah, it's cool. It's like, bro, that's your mom. Stop filming it.
Yeah. And yeah, so he has this huge like war picture production that he has planned, and his dad basically comes to him and is like, and this is another fucking tough scene.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I got you that $80 like editing machine you needed or whatever. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. He's like, but I need something from you. And he's like, you know, your mother's mother has just died or whatever, and I think it would really cheer her up if you made a video of the camping trip we just took. So if you could just work on that tomorrow and get it to your mother, that'd be great. And he's like, what, Dad? I can't know. I have like 40 guys coming to like be in this like war picture. He's like, I need it to be done tomorrow or whatever. And he's like, Dad, I can't just reschedule. He's like, you can do it next weekend. I need that tomorrow or whatever. And like Paul Dano like breaks down at one point. He's like, I don't know what to do. I think this will help, and that's all I know.
It's very sweet.
Yeah,
because Grandma died. Very tough seeing her laying in the bed with her mom.
Yeah,
be like, oh, her eyes opened. Nurse, she's okay. Her eyes open. It's like, oh no, it's because she died. And then we get one of the two best characters in this movie immediately afterwards.
Yeah, Uncle. Is it his name Boris? What is it? Uncle Boris?
Something like that. Yeah, I'll look it up.
It is Boris. It's Uncle Boris.
Played by who plays Uncle Boris? Fuck.
Great question, but I love Uncle Boris. The night before,
I would say, go on. Sorry,
I was just gonna say the night before she gets a call from her mother. Again, not really.
Who's dead? Yeah.
Her mother says, "Don't let him into the house," or whatever. And when Uncle Boris shows up, that's her first reaction. She's like, "Oh my God, I saw Mom last night." She said, "Don't let him in the house. This has to be it," because she didn't like Uncle Boris growing up. You know, Uncle Boris comes and he's a hoot and a half.
Judd Hirsch. He's played by Judd Hirsch.
He's a hoot and a holler.
I fucking love Uncle Boris. He's the best part of this movie, I would say.
Yeah, he goes on this like 5-minute like monologue to young Steven Spielberg and basically says like, hey, you love your family, but you love this just a little bit more. You know, you got that twinkle in your eyes. You want to entertain, you want to do art. But art and family, they'll rip you apart. And you got to pick art because I know you love it more than family. But you also got to know that it's going to be a lonely, heartbreaking, awful, awful thing that you do just because you love it. And I know you got it inside you, whatever. And like even like little Sammy's crying while he's listening to his uncle and like walking away from him and stuff like that. And it's just a fucking it's one of my favorite scenes for sure.
Like because it's like a tough like emotional
but he's not even being
scene.
tough. He's like literally trying to say like I understand.
Yeah,
and like Sammy's like scared of it almost. Like at least my opinion, it's almost like he's not even willing to accept it. Like oh, this guy. You know, he does know what he's talking about. He's just scared of like what is going on. You know, like I don't even think he's necessarily like letting it. But anyways,
exactly. And the way like Uncle Boris is telling him it's not like he's like
mad.
Yeah,
he's just saying like I know you.
Yeah, he's not saying it in a way that's just like listen. this shit I'm gonna tell you is gonna change your life and put you
No.
on the right course. He's telling him like, hey, this is how you make a nice reggaeton.
No, yeah,
like,
he's saying it the way that he like you might like let's say you and I were traveling salesmen. He's saying it the same way you might be like, nah, being on the road's a bitch, isn't it? Like he thinks Sammy already has this figured out. Like he knows this about himself, you know.
Ugh, 9 to 5, am I right? Like that's kind of how he's
that's how
it.
he's saying it.
And
And Sammy's just like, what the fuck is all of this? What is this? And then it's cap ended by like him like pulling a pillow down on the ground and he's like, I'm gonna sleep on the floor for my sister or whatever. And he like rips his shirt.
No, he ripped it earlier while he was crying.
Oh yeah, he starts crying and then he rips his shirt and he's like, what? You never seen anybody grieve before?
He's like, you want me to? You can sleep in the bed. I'll make the bed for you. He goes, nah, I'm gonna sleep on the floor.
He's like, rip your shirt and lay on the floor for your mother or your grandmother. Great.
Bubbla. He calls him Bubbla, which I love. I looked it up. Bubbla means it's Yiddish. I think it like I can't remember, but I think it translates to like little grandmother or something like that. And it's just like an endearing thing to call someone, and I love it.
Yeah. And also, like right before he leaves and he gets in the cab, he does the whole arm over arm thing when he was like doing the whole like they're player apart, like family and art, they don't mix, you know. Yeah. And then you never see Uncle Boris again, which is too bad because Uncle Boris seems like somebody that, you know, I don't know Steven Spielberg's rest of his life, but I feel like he seemed old enough that I hope Steven got the chance to speak with Boris some more.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like there's a bit of kindred spirit there for real that really could have been, you know.
But also, like I was saying about the home movies, it'd be a lot cooler if he didn't. It'd be so much cooler if that's the last time he saw the first and last time he saw Uncle Boris.
And then it's not too long after. It could maybe next day, same night, I don't know, where he finds all the, you know, little like hand holdings and smoochings and stuff and all the camping trip footage and stuff, and basically figures out like, oh god, my mom is banging my dad's best friend,
which is also something I love. They talk about it later before. On their way to California, mom tells them, she's like, we never like, it was just like stolen glances and hand holding and stuff like that. That's all that really happened. And that's like, I don't know, like a little sweeter. Like
But is it true also? You never know.
I'd like to believe so.
Okay.
I'd like to believe her and Seth Rogen are good enough people that they understand that they're in this really tough situation that they shouldn't really pursue. But while we can, if we get a second away together, I'll give you a little kiss on the cheek, or we can hold hands or something like that. And it's just, it's what I keep going on about how I like everybody in this movie, and it's such a tough situation. I could not imagine being in Steven Spielberg situations for this, because Seth Rogen is such a nice guy, and Paul Dano is such a nice guy, and it's like, man, you know who would fucking rip if it could just work out?
If we could open this marriage up.
If I could just have two dads, that would be awesome. These guys are great. This guy, my dad, is where I get all my smarts from, and he's super sweet and he's super kind and he really helps me out with all my life. But Seth Rogen is buying me cameras and believes in me as an artist and wants me to do this.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing is because his dad, I like the way that he's portrayed because he's never portrayed as like the way that you would in like a classic like movie, like the whole like, no, you gotta go to college. He's always like, you gotta do something practical or whatever. And he's just like, but I like movies and stuff. And he's like, I understand. You know, like he never really pushes it to a point where it's like, well, Paul Dano's a dick. Like he genuinely is just like concerned with him, like being like, hey, like I don't know how to tell you that might not
work out.
Yeah. You know, like that's really what he's trying to say. He's not saying it to be an asshole, you know. And I know nobody ever really is, but he's just too nice of a guy to like ever cross that line into like being verbally, you know, abusive or like belittling or anything like that. He never puts him down for it, and he always ends it in a place where he's not giving him like an ultimatum of like, you have to stop making movies,
exactly,
you know. And then what else should happen but another bitchin' offer for Paul Dano to go be the smartest man alive. I mean, was this dude, should I look it up? Was he involved in the fucking Imitation Game?
He might be.
Was he one of the guys in the Imitation Game or something? Is this, is Paul Dano playing fucking Doctor Strange? Is this what Doctor Strange went on to do after he invented the internet in that movie, The Imitation Game?
He became Paul Dano and then later...
And then birthed Steven Spielberg?
And then was a wizard later on?
No, that's not true. The gentleman I'm thinking of, I can't remember his actual real life name, but he was prosecuted for being a homosexual in the 50s and chemically castrated and then killed himself. And it wasn't until like 2010 or 2012 that England pardoned him for any, sodomy or whatever that they charged him for, that ultimately caused him to kill himself. So, very sad story. Imitation Game's a good movie too. But that's not the movie we're talking about.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's dad was a big deal. I mean, I'm just reading the opening of his Wikipedia page, but it's like a lot of minute sciencey stuff about the early stages of
Does he look
computers.
like Paul Dano?
No, he looks like that blue bird from the Muppets, the old one, the eagle. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. You're talking about nice, yeah. But anyways, yeah, they're like, hey, we're moving to California. Family hates this. Really hates this.
They really do, yeah.
By this point, it seems like, again, it's one of those unspoken things. Like, you know, Dad's pretty hip to what's going on with Bert.
Is he?
I think
Before
so.
they... Oh, okay.
Like, he's like, Benny's got to stay. He's not good enough for IBM.
Okay, yeah.
She's crying a lot. You know, there's some distance. On the car ride over, she breaks down and like runs out of the car and goes and have a conversation with Sammy.
Dad's like, I had the strangest dream last night that me and Benny were upset
Yeah.
about something, and we got into a fist fight.
Yeah. And you know, she just keeps saying like, you know, do you think your dad has like even an inkling? Because prior to this, they've talked, and he says, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to tell Dad or anything like that.
Oh, also the conversation with him and his mom.
Oh, because he shows her the footage also of like them holding hands and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
like when she slashed him, it's so tough. Like
Yeah.
just like him being like, I'm in this like awful position. I don't want to let my mom know, and I
Yeah.
don't want to hurt her. But he's also a teenager, so he can't help but act a certain way towards his mom.
Yeah.
And she knows, and just her being in his room, being like, I love you more than anything. You're my son. You need to tell me what's wrong. And he just won't. And it's so sad. It's
Yeah.
so heartbreaking until he finally shows it to her. And she's like, oh, and it's so, like just the way it's shot with like, he puts the film on for her and she's in the closet alone. And she just has this big smile on her face watching the footage of her and Benny. And then when she leaves the closet, she realizes like, oh, this is a problem. This
Yeah.
is a really big problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Fast forward to them.
Oh yeah, they're
the
in
car.
California. They fucking hate this. Except the dad. The dad thinks it's great. Doesn't seem to notice that everybody hates it. And yeah, little Benny, not Benny, and Sammy gets bullied at school for being Jewish, quite substantially bullied. Literally, at one point, they're asking him to apologize for killing Christ or whatever. I know it's a classic comeback, but I did like the line where he was like, obviously, since I'm not 2,000 years old, I didn't kill Jesus Christ. But that leads into him kind of, well, actually, we buzzed past the scene I was talking about. Like, that's where the Seth Rogen scene happens with the camera right before they move to California, because he's like, I'm going to miss you and I love you and I believe in this movie thing. And yeah, I just bought the most expensive camera that you can buy.
It was a camera
for
he was renting earlier, and
Yeah.
he went in and bought it.
Yeah, it was thoughtful.
And they just happened to be there at the same time.
Yeah.
And Sammy's there selling his
camera 'cause he's
shittier
giving
camera.
up or whatever. Yeah. And it does get to the point where, like I said, you know, young Sammy like recognizes like, you know, how fucked the situation is or whatever. And he's like, okay, I'll take the camera, but I'm paying you for it. I have $35 here.
And Seth Rogen's just so good.
Yeah, as he pulls off, Sammy realizes that he slipped it into his pocket. And he's like, keep the change.
Yeah, that's great. But I love when he's like, I'll give you $35 for it. Obviously, a fraction of what the camera costs. And I love Seth Rogen. Like, you drive a hard bargain and taking it from him.
Yeah. So they're in California, like I said. Homeboy's getting bullied, beat up, all kinds of shit like that. He finds himself in all kinds of misadventures where, like, he notices this, you know, bully kissing a girl while he's got another girlfriend. He lets it spill. The bully makes him, like, you know, tell the girlfriend that he was lying, but she knows that he wasn't because he had certain details that, like, why would she know that? Yada, yada, yada. All kinds of stuff's going on in young little Sammy's life. He's, you know, getting to a point where things are interesting in his own life.
Yes.
Like he's this blossoming solo life. But two good things kind of come of, in a sense. He has like his first love, very funny scene. This woman loves Jesus Christ and kind of soft thinks maybe she can convert him, but mainly like, I don't know, it's like this weird like sexual, like Jesus and sex are like so intertwined.
Yeah,
for her.
she's so sexually attracted to Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Yeah.
And she meets Steven Spielberg and she's like,
you're my little Jew. Jesus was a Jew.
Jesus Christ is a handsome little Jewish boy. You're also a handsome little Jewish boy. And like that's such a tough situation that I'll never be in. And I cannot not judge or support what he did here, but just the idea of being like, this girl's into me because I remind her of Jesus Christ, the figurehead of the opposite religion of what I have.
There's so many times where she says things like, you know, like, oh my God, have you found Christ or whatever? Like when he gives her the rose or whatever, and he's like, in a jewelry store, yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
and I like that she laughs, and I love that it's like there's a very playful thing between
Yeah.
the two of them where she's like, as it goes on, she's not
Yeah.
like you have to be Christian.
yeah, like this is
before.
a deal breaker. We're
She's
too
just
different.
like, and he's
Yeah.
like, she's like, oh, you,
Yeah, I like it. It's fun.
yeah,
Yeah. I almost wish I had a religion so that I could have a relationship like that
Mm-hmm.
with somebody else who had a religion. I'm jealous, is what I'm trying to say. And then the other thing is that another kind of complicated scene where they're at dinner with the family and they're kind of like doing this weird back and forth about like, you should make movies. I'm thinking about making movies. I thought you gave that up, all that kind of stuff. Because he has the opportunity to shoot the senior skip day thing. And it's like a scene where he kind of like puts his foot down in one of the first like becoming a adult kind of like thing where he's like is like, I'm renting the camera, I'm shooting the senior skip day.
yeah, because his parents are like, hey, we'll buy it for you. And he's like,
Yeah.
I thought you didn't want to buy it, and his parents are arguing about like whether or not they're gonna let him.
And then simultaneously his girlfriend is also like, oh yeah, my dad has like the most expensive camera you could possibly have. And he's like, oh my God, your dad has that?
yeah. His parents are like, oh, we can rent the machine for you, and she's
She's
like,
like, you'll ask my dad? She's like, my dad will say yes, yeah, of course.
yeah. And he's like, fine, parents, I don't need you.
Yeah.
And I love Paul Dano's mom, who's just a huge bitch in every scene she's in. Just hates the mom,
Yeah.
justifiably so. Like, if you're Paul Dano's mom, I would understand how you would hate her. Also, another little touch that I love. Someone else brought this up in a different review that I was watching. I can't remember who, but it's just like there's so many nice little touches in this, like how they're always eating on paper plates on a paper tablecloth because mom doesn't like doing the dishes. So
Which
they
it was
just-
fun because I didn't know at first. At first I just thought, oh, the 50s when you just fucking
Yeah.
anything was trash.
and they just throw it all in the middle of the table. They wrap up the big the paper tablecloth and
Yeah.
they just throw that all away. And I think it was Red Letter Media who put it into words for me, but like that's such a weird little specific thing that it was like I was saying with the slap on the back.
Yeah.
Such a weird little specific thing that you would never put in a movie where it's like, oh, this is just an oddly detail about very specifically Steven Spielberg's
Yeah.
mom that does not build into the movie at all. It just builds out her as a character a little bit more because she's a real life human being.
Yeah. At this point, I think primarily what happens is he shoots the thing,
Shoots senior skip day, yeah.
shows it to the school.
He shoots it. Parents get divorced.
Oh, right, I forgot. We also skipped over them getting the monkey. That was weird. But yeah, parents get divorced.
They get a monkey
It's
named
rough
Benny.
stuff.
Parents get divorced. It's rough stuff.
Rough stuff.
He hides away in his room to edit while that's happening, and his sister's like, "What is fucking wrong with you? You can't. You can't just run away from it here. You can't." He's like, "I don't know. I guess me and you were different." Fun fact: his sister, with the bangs and the glasses, she's remember the Tammy Craps sketch from I Think You Should Leave?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are you heavy enough to play with this doll?
Yeah.
That's her.
Nice.
That's that girl, and she's also the little girl from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood who does the scene with Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
That girl, that girl's the best child actor I think I've ever seen. She's so unbelievably good.
Yeah, parents get divorced. It's rough stuff. Sister gives him some grief, as you're saying, and yeah, it is interesting because, like I see, she comes at him for being like, there's like this divide that happens naturally in families, and it's not a healthy thing. I've seen like people acknowledge that in like even like Heavyweight. I think Heavyweight has an episode where they talk like about how that there's that woman, and she's like, yeah, my dad used to do this thing where he was like, oh, you're so smart, I'm so smart, we're so smart, we're smarter than everybody else. It's us versus, everybody else.
Yeah,
kind
that
of
crazy
thing.
episode
And
where their dad was a psychiatrist and like split the family up on purpose.
something I can't remember what the rest of it is. It's just that nugget always stuck with me because she was like, I didn't realize how mentally abusive that was until I was an adult. Because at the time I thought like, oh, this is my dad and he loves me, and he thinks I'm smart or he thinks I'm talented. But to like pedestal me like that, or like section me away from everybody, actually did a lot more damage, than like, it was just kind of narcissistic behavior and like manipulative behavior. It's not good to like praise someone to that degree, to like a seclusive.
It doesn't really build on what you were saying, but it just reminded me of something I read forever ago. It was a study about like they were giving kids, like just like elementary school kids or middle school kids, like math tests.
Yeah.
And they would like take all their scores, like tests that were easy, so like you knew that they were going to get good scores on them, and they took one group of kids and would tell them, well, you did a great job, you're very smart, you're really, really smart, and you did really good on this. And they took the other group of kids and went, you did a great job on this, you work really hard, you're a really hard worker. and then they would give them a second test that was way too hard for them. Mm-hmm. And the kids that they told were smart gave up very quickly. Were like, oh no, this is too much for me. I'm smart enough to know that this is out of my league.
Yeah.
And the kids that they told were hard workers were like, well, I'm gonna try to finish this because I'm a hard worker.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
It's a beautiful thing to think about.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a really, really smart thing to think about. Yeah. It's where I was going with it is in the context of the movie, his sister has decided for herself, because of the way that their parents talk about them, that she's on team dad and Sammy is bad because he's like mom. That this family is scientists and artists, right? And that's kind of like not a healthy family dynamic. But anyways, but to go back to what you're saying, it is an interesting thing. We'll come back to the same. I just wanted to like touch back on the touchstone of like why we're even talking about that. But your thing is like it is really, really like fucked and so hard to wrap your head around like exactly what you are saying. Like it you know, another way to put it is like you can make a mistake without doing anything wrong. You know, like you know, you could have the best intention of like telling your child that you're smart, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like you know, your example of like hard worker being a better thing to maybe prepare your child for life like that. Yeah, it's just it's so fucked up how powerful your words are, I guess, because and it's something I've talked about before. Like you have this inner world, right?
Yeah.
And you think that the words you've chosen are exactly perfect to relay exactly what you're thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
And it isn't until sometimes much, much later that someone tells you like, hey, what the fuck? And you're like, oh, wow, I really didn't think it was going over like that. Like,
yeah.
You know, there were so many, you know, it's almost like I was skim reading. But with words, you know, I just skipped like, you know, a couple of things. You know? So I don't know. It's tricky. But you were gonna say about the artist and the scientist thing.
Yeah, his sister's yelling at him because he is team mom, but he's also mad at mom.
Yeah,
and she's like, "You're mad at mom."
It's so complicated. Yeah.
And
I understand what she means. He's running away from it in the sense that he's like ignoring it. You know.
Yeah. And he's mad at mom because mom is kind of like him.
Yeah,
and she's kind of projecting and stuff like that. Yeah.
You know, but again, like, you know, it's one of those things that's so odd because it's like there's so many things that you could almost criticize, you know, dad for the same thing. Like, I don't know if it necessarily counts necessarily, but like, you know, like he accuses his dad of running away, like, you know, just picking up and moving and stuff. And in a sense, he's ignoring the situation with his wife. Right. And I think in a sense, like him running away is much, you know, like his mom, like diving into like you know, the piano or whatever. It's the same thing with him. He's diving into his work, his passion. It's the same thing. It's just really the only thing different about the two characters to a degree is that like he's someone who got to follow and she had to give up and tag along.
Yeah,
you know.
And yeah, he isn't that big because like he's having trouble at school too, and he yells at his dad. And he's like, "You don't even care how this is affecting any of us."
Yeah, and
it is kind of more so like this is really fucking up mom, and you're not really. Yeah. You kind of don't give a shit because it's a pretty selfish thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then they split up, and he's like mad at mom more so instead now. And it's all very strange.
But anyways, he picks prom night to tell his girlfriend that he wants to marry her, and also that his parents got divorced.
This scene to the end, I was like, oh, I'm 100% in.
Yeah.
Up until now, I'm like, this movie's fine. But when it gets to prom and he tells her this and he plays the movie for everybody and he's talking to the bully and then the scene afterward with John Ford, and I'm like, I'm all in. This is great. This is like To Kill a Mockingbird. I was whatever. And then Boo Radley shows up and I'm like, I'm fucking in.
Yeah, basically like he says to her like, hey, I was wondering, like, I'm moving to Hollywood to try to be like a movie director, and like, would you come along? And she's like, what? No. And he's like, well, would you consider it because I love you or whatever? And she's like, no, I'm going to Texas A&M. Like,
you don't love me. We've been dating for a couple weeks.
Yeah. And then he drops the like, my parents are getting divorced, let's get married or whatever. And she's like, yeah, okay. You know, it's funny to me that she says the thing where she's like, he's like, are you breaking up with me? She's like, eventually I'm not gonna break up with you at prom.
Yeah, that's so fucked. It's so fucking such a great little teenage girl line. She's like, no, it's prom, of course not. Eventually, yeah, but no, not tonight. And
then he plays the senior skip day film for everybody at school, and it's wonderful, and people cheer, and it's inventive, and it's
very sad during the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's just something. It's one of those things that, like, again, like I hope that that's something that, you know, he still has a print of, you know. What a magical time capsule that would be. Even if you aren't Steven Spielberg, just to have, your senior skip day at 95 years old. I don't know how old he is. You said 95 earlier. But just to be able to like sit in a dark room and go back and like look at this thing that you made. Because they do that whole bit with like the dropping the ice cream or yogurt in people's face, like after the shots of the seagulls and stuff. Anyways, whatever. It's great. People love it. They laugh. Even when people get the ice cream dropped in their face as if it were bird shit, like some dudes are like, yeah, like it was funny. Like they're the dude and they're into it.
And he makes that bully, the main bully, Chad, look really, really good in the movie.
Yeah, and he cries. And yeah, it's that's another super complicated thing.
I love it.
I love it. It's so, again, like, just like so real and honest and like true for him to come up and be like, why would you like put up there the thing that I'm insecure about, like the amount of pressure people put on me to be like that, and me, I don't live up to it, I don't think, and then you're gonna make me look like that.
And I love how conflicted the bully is. He's like, are you doing that on purpose?
Yeah.
Or are you
just trying to make a good movie?
Or are you just trying to make me look good? And if you are, what is your fucking problem?
Yeah.
I've been so mean to you. Why would you do that? So it has to be that you're fucking with me.
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg's like,
I don't know, bro.
I don't know either. Maybe it made my movie better. Maybe you're right. Maybe subconsciously that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they have this nice little moment. And I like all of it because he makes the other bully look like a dipshit.
Yeah.
And that kid comes in to kick his ass.
Yeah, because he made him look like a dipshit or whatever.
And big bully Chad beats him
the
up.
Shit out of him, yeah.
And the only thing I don't like
is the weed.
No.
Okay.
Is the bully going, you better not fucking tell anybody that this happened. He goes, hey, unless it'll make a great movie. Which I'll never do. I'll never make a movie out of it.
I like that. That was funny because there's a couple things like that. Like the last shot of the movie as he's walking away from the film studios, John Ford just told him that the picture's only interesting if the fucking horizon's at the top of the bottom, so the film at the last second adjusts.
Oh, I love that. No, I love that. Yeah, for sure. But just to like the wink to the camera of, this is the movie. You're watching the movie right now. I don't hate it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
And so he has that conversation with the bully. It's
just one of those things where it's like, what do you like? There's no way that guy still feels that way, and if he's still alive and he saw that, like, I feel like it would be
it'd be very sweet. That's one of the only moment in this movie where I was like, I hope that guy is watching this movie. I really, really do.
I mean, it's almost like heavyweight worthy. Like, I'd love to hear those two talk now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That would be I got chills just thinking about that idea.
And then we do a time jump from there where he's in college. Yeah,
he's having a panic attack. He's making a 3-hour trip to college every day or whatever. He dorms there, but he's apparently, I'm just getting this from the dialogue. He says, like, you can't keep making this 3-hour trip every day. And he's like, I know, but I can't stay in the dorm. So like he's got all this anxiety. He doesn't like his roommates, right?
In like a sentence, he like wraps up just basically a coming of age movie in like a sentence. He's just like, I hate school. Yeah. I really, really do. And I'm trying to get this movie thing to happen, and it's just not. And I feel like I'm stuck, and I'm going nowhere right now, and my life is just stale and sustained. And it's like, oh yeah, no, that's the plot of a different movie that you just told us in a sentence. It's great.
Homeboy has like some pictures that his mom sent him. Yeah. Sammy does, and his dad takes a glance at him, sees that, I guess, Sammy, his mom and Benny are now married and together and stuff. Mm-hmm. Happy, and it kind of throws him through a loop. And Bert has a moment where he's just kind of like, go try to do the movie thing or whatever. He's like, I don't know. I don't feel certain about it or whatever, but I know it might even make her cry. He's like, you're a chip off the old block, and I know whatever you do, you're going to work really hard at it or whatever.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
It is. And he says something like, I'll never not know you, or whatever. No, he's like, you don't know Mom anymore? And he's like, no, I do. I always will. Yeah. Our stories have gone on too long for this to truly be the end. For either of us to truly say the end, I think, is what it is. Yeah. Rough scene.
And he's like, I don't remember. I don't know if he like intentionally was like hiding it from him to impress him or to surprise them, or he actually noticed that he missed a piece of mail in there because there's this one. He gets a letter from CBS.
Yeah, they wanted to shoot the first episode of Columbo. Yeah, that's how the movie ends, with him shooting that murder movie. They write books together. I don't know. That's not really what happens.
He goes in They're a movie, an executive producer or just a producer at CBS. Is like, yeah, we're working on this show called Hogan's Hero that's going to be on
Catchy,
soon.
isn't it?
Yeah. He's like, you could be, the assistant to an assistant's assistant if you'd like. And he's like, yeah, I'll start anywhere. He's like, yeah, but it says here in your letter that you really want to make movies. Or you want to do TV. He's like, I would do either. I just want to get involved somehow. And he's like, you should meet the greatest living director. He works just right across the hall. And it's great. He goes in there, he goes into that guy's office and sits with his receptionist. Doesn't know who he's going to see. And they start playing, I can't remember which movie it is, but a song from one of John Ford's movies starts playing very, very quietly and gets a little louder. And he looks around at all the movie posters and realizes oh fuck, I'm in John Ford's office. Mm-hmm. And his receptionist is very cold to him, and she's like, this is a bad idea. You shouldn't be here. You could be waiting here for hours. And he comes in almost immediately. And oh my God, Chris, so good.
Yeah.
That the movie goes, oh yeah, we'd like you to go meet the greatest living director. And then the guy comes in and he's played by David Lynch. Oh, I love it. Chef's Kiss. It's such a great choice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen a picture of old John Ford. He looks just like David Lynch. Love the eye patch. So John Ford, David Lynch comes in covered in lipstick, just top to bottom of his face covered in lipstick, walks right past him. She comes in, the receptionist goes in, wipes out the lipstick off of him, comes back in to see little Sammy Fabelman. She goes, okay, he'll see you now, but take off your tie. Which, I don't know if this was intentional, but it reminded me. There's that story, I think I said it last week when we talked about Elephant Man. There's that story that Mel Brooks tells about meeting David Lynch for the first time and him coming in with no tie, with his buttons done all the way up to the top, and thinking that was strange. So Sammy Fabelman takes off his tie and he goes in to see David Lynch, John Ford. He's got no tie with his shirt buttoned up all the way to the top. I was like, I don't know if that's intentional, but I'd like to believe that it is.
Yeah.
He sits there, and in a very David Lynch film moment, David Lynch sits there and tries and puffs at lighting a cigar for 2 minutes straight or something like that. Long. And it's so quiet.
Yeah.
And he's like, I like that he drops he gets out of his David Lynch voice just enough, but he still sounds like David Lynch.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you know about art? And then goes on for a big long thing, and he's like, tell me what you see in that painting over there. And he's like, two cowboys doing this. And he's like, where's the horizon? And he's like, at the bottom. All right, now tell me about that one. There's about 5 or 6 guys. They're getting out of this canyon. Wrong. Where's the horizon? It's at the bottom. Right. The horizon's at the top. It's interesting. The horizon's at the bottom. It's interesting. Horizon's in the middle. It's boring as shit. I get the fuck out of my office. And I read that this is the only part of the movie that Steven Spielberg, this is word for word how he remembers his meeting with John Ford when he was that age. And then, like you said, he gets out of there. He's on top of the world. He's leaving the movie lot. And then the camera shifts to put the horizon at the bottom, and then it's over.
Yeah. Beautiful movie.
I liked it. I like talking about it right now. I'd like it way more. Yeah. Glad I own it now, because I'm for sure going to watch this again.
Yeah, I would love to watch it again. Even that John Ford meeting, it's just one of those things where, could you ask for it to go any better? In my opinion, as rough and mean as John Ford is, I think he was really kind and compassionate with that kid.
Yeah.
That little Sammy Fabelman. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you know about art. Doesn't have an answer.
And this was
Tell me about that painting. Describe that painting.
Yeah. This was the other scene. This and Uncle Boris, I think, are the 2 best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. I think, like I said, I think it's a really honest and it just has that honest is the best way I can put it. It's such an honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
wonderfully shot, wonderfully paced, wonderfully blocked. Just a great Steven Spielberg flick. And I think I can't remember a Steven Spielberg movie that people are like, this is really good, that's come out in the past 15 years. He was doing Ready Player One and shit like that. And I was like, oh, cool, Steven Spielberg is, I guess, done. He's just going to do this until he dies. And then he did Fabelman. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I'm struggling so hard personally with A/A+ distinction, just because I think for what it set out to do, it fits my criteria of wow, you nailed it.
Yeah.
But also, I'd be lying if I said that A+ isn't also kind of slightly reserved for these are my favorites. You know what I'm saying?
That's understandable, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere in the A to A+. I think I gotta give this thing a straight up straight up A
Okay.
plus.
Oh, nice. Good on you.
Yeah, if I'm going purely by like a grade, yeah, I don't know. It really, really, really surprised me. There are like lines that are like a little bit clunky, or I feel like, when people so blatantly say exactly how they feel, but it all works in the end because of the fact that there are such complicated and conflicting and complex like emotional things that are being touched upon. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't. Maybe it's the benefit of age and him having been just 95, but it just really has.
He's not 95, by the way. I was way too.
Yeah. But just that thing where like, he's had enough time to mull it over that like it doesn't have the feel of, like youth. It has like it's fermented for a while. These are things that like have calcified and exactly. Like, not in terms of like I've definitively given you like what is right or wrong, but just like I've come to realize as an old man that there isn't that, and this is just what life is.
Yeah, no, it's great because it's not like a. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have like an
a bias or an angle he's working. It's just like, this is what life is. It's messy and it hurts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great. Again, I heard an interview or read an interview with him where he's talking about it. Like while they were alive, his parents were hounding him for a long time. Like, when are you gonna put us in a movie? When are you gonna make the movie about our family, huh? Yeah. And I think it's great. I think him at this point in his life, this is a good time to like. And I love that it's not like a retrospective on his entire life. Yeah. Like, I love that you don't see Sammy Fabelman make Dinosaur Park toward the end of this. It is just very specifically that those 10 years with his family that like affected him very greatly, and just like you said, just a nice kind of, as far as I know, an unbiased point of view of what happened with his family. And like, this is just what it is. You take, I'm not going to tell you one way or the other what lesson you should be taking from this. Just take what you want out of it. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a B plus.
Hell yeah.
I think it's really good. Like you said, I think it did exactly what it needed to. Yeah. I like it. I was gonna give it a B minus before we talked about it. Yeah. And I'm sure it'll go up if I watch it again. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it was a blessing in disguise had to buy this movie.
And yeah, it's funny how things work out, isn't it? We watched this movie, it's got little Davy boy in there, and then it was his fucking birthday, and then what was happening on his birthday? But and I say this lightly because I've heard some racist stuff about this town's history, but that stuff aside, which is really hard to put aside, I kind of really like Howell, Michigan, and Howell, Michigan has this really cool theater that I really like called the Historic Howell Theater. It was built in 1928, and I have some very fond memories there. And me and my buddy Nick drove an hour out to Howell, and it's beautiful at night, and there's a nice little strip, and there's all these little businesses, and there's all these lights, and this pub, and we went to this pub, and I had 2 Guinnesses, and then we went over to the Howell Theater, and we watched Fire Walk with Me, and it was great, and I loved that theater, and I loved that little pub, and I kind of liked the town. Yeah. And we watched Fire Walk with Me. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we watched Fire Walk with Me. That was what it was. It was David Lynch's birthday.
Yes, and since it was basically my birthday.
Because your birthday's the next day, and then the day after that is Daniel Johnston's birthday.
Mm-hmm. My good friend Chris took me out to Howell, Michigan to go see this movie that he knows I like. And we went there, and he's just going on and on and on about Howell, Michigan, and how good it is. And we start driving in there. I'm like, homie, this looks like fucking...
Nowhere, nothing,
if I'm being honest. So then we drove into downtown bit. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right, this looks like what was like a Westboro from
that's what I said. It feels like the high school I wish I grew up in. It feels like Scream Town, but without the murders.
And then we went to a pub next door. Chris had 2 Guinnesses, I had 2 normal beers, and a big old chicken sandwich, and then we got into the movie and we sat down, and my eyes started getting real heavy, and I went, oh no,
chicken sandwich and 2 beers is sleep medicine.
It's basically a NyQuil for me. So I'd like to admit that I slept through a lot of Fire Walk with Me.
You've seen it multiple times.
I've seen it so many times.
I will say about this experience, just to jump ahead while we're still talking about the theater aspect of it, such a fucking wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience to see a movie in the theater. As this being a film that I've seen like 3 or 4 times just in my lifetime, like on a TV with a friends, with a partner, to just see it in that big ass dark room on that huge fucking screen. There were so many things where I was just like, damn, never paid attention to that. Damn, never caught that. Damn, never saw that. Like it's like the theater is really a magical place.
I really wish I had been able to stay awake for more of it, because the parts that I did catch, I saw, I'm going to say about 60% of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were parts where I've seen this movie so many times because I'm getting ahead of myself, right? We'll do mail, and we'll talk about history. And we'll
Yeah.
yada, yada,
But just
yada.
talk about the theater. So overall, rate your Howl experience. I'm saying that was a 9.5 out of 10.
I'm going to say that was an 8.9 out of 10. It's great. My favorite thing about it is when I got up to use the John.
Yeah.
They have little old newspaper clippings that are their old ads from like, hey, come see Jaws at the Howell Theater, not like, hey, we're re-showing Jaws.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is from the week
we
Jaws
saw,
came out. It's awesome. It's great.
It is awesome, and it makes me very sad that the Main Art Theater is gone. So rest in peace. Main Art Theater. I guess I will always have the memories I made there.
Yeah.
Like one time, I think it was the 48-hour film festival.
Mm-hmm.
We had participated, and then we went and watched it, or maybe I didn't participate that year. It was just Alicia and the Oster brothers. But we went and watched it, and my fucking stupid, I hate it, Toyota don't have a key, but it's just a fob thing, fell out of my pocket. And that was the last thing that was going on that night, because they had obviously like shut down like movies to just be like, hey, we're doing this like community event thing.
Yeah.
Get to my car at like 11:30 and realize it's not in my pocket. Go back, doors are locked, all that kind of shit. And I just had like a meltdown where I was like, fuck, there's no way that some like 14-year-old like, you know, braced face kid like didn't sweep that into the trash and throw it away. Like, what am I gonna do? I had a total meltdown, yada yada yada. And then the next day, Alicia and I went up there, and someone had found it on the ground and just kind of set it off to the side, and I was totally fine. But
nice.
man, I thought the world was ending that night. I was like, oh my god, like what does it even cost to replace that? Like how do they like link that up to my car? Like do I have to have my window smashed? Like what do I do? You know, I don't have a spare. You know.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
that's weird. My favorite, the absolute best movie going experience I've ever seen is seeing The Lighthouse at the Main Art.
Yeah.
Like such a little A24 obsessed 24-year-old white kid thing to say, but just being in the Main Art, that theater that feels grand with
you and Alicia went saw, right?
No, it was us and like Elton and Rachel and Elric, and I think it was that whole gang. I think, yeah, and just like the no bullshit nature of the Main Art that was just like, you are sitting in these movie theater seats that aren't really inclined from each other. And it was like I said when we said them to see Fire Walk with Me, it's like I like to be just a little bit closer.
Yeah,
every seat at the Main Art felt like that, where you are looking up at the screen, and to just see the Lighthouse like that, I was just like I'll never forget. There's that quick shot. It's like a dream sequence where Robert Pattinson turns around and looks, and Willem Dafoe is there, and he's naked, and his eyes are shooting out like the lighthouse light at him.
Yeah,
just being like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Why Big Make so cool?
I don't know.
You know,
lizard brain shit, probably.
Yeah. All right, Fire Walk with Me, directed by David Lynch, came out in what year?
1992, 3.
Don't know.
Don't care. I'm just kidding. I'll look it up.
And it's mail time. Again, it's an email. Welcome to 2023.
1992, I was right.
Fire Walk with Me. Just like David Lynch, I do not have much to say about this movie. 5 out of 10.
Chris, what's your history of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me?
It's something I don't really want to elaborate on, but just basically saw it, didn't like it, was offended, thought it was too not what I thought Twin Peaks was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just every subsequent viewing, every time I see it, I'm always like, I think I like it like twice as much as I did the last time I saw it.
Oh, yeah?
Every time. Yeah. So I really like this movie.
Good, I'm glad.
But yeah, it is just one of those things, like it's such a unique, like, I see it, think about it, see it, think about it, you know, like it's just every time, you know. Similarly, like I think it happens often with David Lynch stuff. Like I think I talk about it all the time on the podcast, but I give like Blue Velvet like a B+. But yeah, I really think it deserved to be in the A+ range. That's one of my favorite movies. I love Blue Velvet. I think about that all the time. That's like the one score that I regret. I know I bring it up all the time. And yeah, same thing with like when we had the conversation about Mulholland Drive, and I know that I singled out like specific scenes where I was like, nah, this is my least favorite part and stuff. And it's just like, you know, it wasn't even until I said it that I was like, no, actually, that kind of rips, and I really like that movie a lot. I don't know why my initial reaction, I feel like every time I see a David Lynch movie, is just to be like, okay. And I think about it, and I see it again, and suddenly I'm like, no, I think I really like this.
Yeah, no, he definitely makes movies that, whether you want them to or not, they sit with you, and you think about it for a while, and whether or not you wanted to, you like it more a week later.
Yeah.
With the exception of this one for me.
Yeah, you don't like
being completely honest. I think the polar opposite experience with this movie that you did. I watched it, and even though it wasn't Twin Peaks, I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
This is just a different angle on that world through a David Lynch movie lens instead of a ABC television show lens.
Yeah.
And because it's much darker, it's much more violent. You see people doing coke and stuff like that instead of just being told about it. Bobby kills a guy. I think I might still have it somewhere. I'll have to pull it up, and maybe we can put it into this episode somewhere. But I have a recording of me and you watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
Because you and I watched Twin Peaks together for the first time.
Yeah. I was very drunk for the whole thing.
We weren't like, watching episodes next to each other, but we were like at the same time, in our own time, working through the show. And then we watched Fire Walk with Me together. The thing that stays out the most to me, that I remember the most from that, is just us, how just baffled we are about different Donna.
Yeah.
Different Donna is the hardest part of this movie for me, if I'm being honest.
It is, yeah. There's the scene where like she says something like, don't you know me? I'm your best friend, or something like that. I'm like, are you? Who are you?
I don't know you.
Who are you?
I think this movie would be, I hate to admit it, but I think this movie would be probably like 10-15% better if they had Donna.
The real Donna, yeah. No, I will absolutely agree with that. Absolutely.
And every time I see this movie, I've seen this movie about 6 times. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm going to like it. Yeah. I'm going to find something that I like in this movie, and I never really do. I will say, every time I see it, what's her name?
Cheryl Lee.
Cheryl Lee.
Oh. You're talking about the mother.
No, Laura Palmer.
Oh, Cheryl Lee.
Cheryl Lee.
Yeah.
Incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets me every time. It's like, even if what she's doing is over the top, I know it's supposed to be on purpose. Like, even the moment when she's just looking through her diary and notices one of the pages is missing, just the frozen fear that she has on her face is just insane. Yeah. Like, it just grips me to the bone. And when she runs outside and she's crying in that bush, and so she's a Leland come out, and just the no. Yeah. Just like, she's so good in this movie. Yeah. That's really the only thing I get out of it, if I'm being honest. My biggest problem with it, I think, is respect to the man. I'll never disagree with anything that he does. I think he's an auteur. I think he always makes the right decision. But Kyle MacLachlan, when this movie was being made, saying, I don't want to be Special Agent Dale Cooper for the rest of my life, so I'd like to not be the main character of this movie. That's cool. Or be really involved in this movie. That's cool. I'll come in for a scene or two. And so it's nice to have him in this movie. But before that, you get
two special
Agent
agents.
Desmond and Agent Kiefer Sutherland.
I think they call him Sam.
Who are the stand-ins for him, I guess.
Yeah.
And I do like what he did with that, where they go to, like, the Fat Trout Trailer Park, and it's supposed to be like the inverse, like the Bizarro World Twin Peaks. Yeah. Like, this place is the shitty America, other than the picture-perfect Twin Peaks America. Yeah. And I like all that stuff just fine, and then Agent Dale Cooper shows up for 2 scenes, and I go, God damn it, this is so much better. Yeah. God damn it, I wish this was the movie. Yeah. Like, when he's like, he's talking to Harry Dean Stanton, and he tells him where her apartment is, and he goes the other way. He goes, hey, where you going? I told you her apartment's over there. And he goes, I'm going over here. And it just kind of walks out of frame. It's so good. I just love him so much. And so that kind of ruins it for me. But I do love Ray Wise, and I do love Shirley and
Laura Flynn Boyle.
Laura Flynn Boyle. Who's Laura Flynn Boyle? She's Donna, I believe.
Oh, my bad. I thought, what's the name of the mom then? Who's the mom?
Oh, Patsy Cline. No, I don't know. Hold on, look it up, because she's great too. I love her in everything I've seen her in. Yeah.
Seinfeld.
She's good in Seinfeld. She's good in the
Log Ladies in Seinfeld too.
My Own Private Idaho. She's great in. She's great in The Quarry. Chris, remember The Quarry?
True.
Remember we played The Quarry?
We did.
And I think she is the best part of the 3rd season of Twin Peaks, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Okay.
Grace Zabriskie. That's her name.
All right. But yeah, it opens up and yeah, the Teresa Banks murder is happening. You may have those two special agents. I don't like the scene with Gordon Cole where like the woman in the red dress is there and she's squeezing her hand and stuff. That's
I don't love it, but it's something I love about Twin Peaks as a whole.
Yeah.
Is that the FBI in this world are like mystical.
Yeah, like
that's how they operate. Yeah.
But that one is just a little too over the top. Like
it's a little
it's
much,
like a blue duck thing to me where it's just like silly almost more than like surreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, like basically they're investigating Teresa. They have this whole thing about where she worked and like that's where we're gonna go get dinner, and you know, they interview the lady who runs the diner, or at least just working the diner, and you know, they're like, do you do any drugs or whatever? And she's like, I don't do any drugs, like, you know, like kind of thing. And I just like that, all these little color scenes, you know, they go hang out with Harry Dean Stanton and check out the trailer park, yada yada yada. There's also the over the top like friction between local police and like federal officers that is you know, in every cop drama that involves the FBI, but this one is just cranked up to like 11.
Yeah, other than Twin Peaks was my favorite thing about Twin Peaks is that they get there and Sherman's like, all right, man, you're here to I'm here working for you, bud.
Yeah.
And then I love that, and this, like I said, it's the bizarre Twin Peaks where there's like, fuck you.
And then eventually that one of the agents, or both agents, at least one, goes missing. They call Cooper in. Cooper has an odd situation with like David Bowie.
Maybe my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah, he's like, I've dreamt this. David Bowie comes in. He's like sitting in the hallway watching himself in the security camera. Then he eventually is stuck in the security camera even though he's not watching the security camera. David Bowie comes in. They have a little conversation where he's like, we're not going to talk about Judy at all.
Who do you think that is there?
Yeah.
So it's such the biggest travesty of season 3, unfortunately, is that David Bowie was either too sick to or passed away right before they were filming, and so he's not in. Because Philip Jeffries is a big character in season 3, but he's just talked about tangentially, and then when you see him, he's a tea kettle.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And then he's gone, and everybody's like, where did Philip Jeffries go? And also, where's Agent Desmond or whatever? And then they send Cooper off to do some sleuthing. And yeah, you get the Harry Dean Stanton scene. Love it. I love it. He's like, his trailer's over there. And he's like, I'm not going over there. And he's like, well, where are you going? He's like, going over here.
It's great. Just love him. And like, I love just the juxtaposition of him and the other two agents, because when the agents go to see Harry Dean Stanton, he's like grumpy and rough and tumble and like, yeah, fucking whatever, I'll let you into the goddamn, I'll get you some coffee if you want, whatever.
Yeah.
But you get to him and Cooper, you miss all that stuff with Cooper, and it's just them talking, and you immediately know, by the way Harry Dean Stanton is speaking to him, that it went much better when Cooper showed up.
Yeah.
And he's like, again, sorry to wake you up so early. He's like, oh, it's no problem, because he's got
Dale
that.
Cooper has big Ted Lasso energy.
He really does, because he's got written on his front door in Sharpie, do not knock on this door before 9 a.m. and shit like that. It's great. And
then I think we cut to Twin Peaks.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And that was very nice. That was like, I was getting a little sleepy and like my eyes were getting heavy. And as soon as it shows the signing, I was like, shot of energy. Have you ever seen The Missing Pieces?
No.
It is.
I've never watched any extracurricular Twin Peaks anything.
It is. There's 2 movies worth of movie that they shot for this. And The Missing Pieces is just Twin Peaks. It is just everybody in Twin Peaks that got cut out of this movie. Because he's like, it doesn't really. Because he was going to make 5 of these. And then this came out and everyone hated it. He's like, all right, fine, fuck you, I won't make any more. Which is the other thing about this movie. Watching this one, I'm like, this feels kind of incomplete.
Yeah, that's something I was gonna say, is that there were so many points where I was like, this feels like 5 episodes of season 3 smashed together.
Yeah,
more than a movie. Hang on, I'm getting all kinds of calls.
And I hear the missing files or the missing pieces or whatever it's called for this movie they're just collections of scenes. Like, they don't work as a movie at all.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, oh, it's just nice. It's just more Twin Peaks. That's just all. It's more classic Twin Peaks, but shot like a movie.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see it one of these days, but I can't. I just haven't found the time to sit down, and I'm like, yeah, I should probably see Mulholland Drive first, or Lost Highway. I mean, because I have seen Mulholland Drive. Anyway,
but yeah, basically what's going on is everything that happened before Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's the
everything that
weekly
you
got
got from Twin Peaks, from everybody telling stories, but now you just get to see it. So classic prequel stuff. There are things of value for sure. But yeah, Laura Palmer's there. She's dating multiple boys. Complicated love triangles. Donna's there. Yada yada yada. There's some cocaine. Bobby's selling cocaine. He's buying cocaine from Leo. Bobby kills a guy. It's just kind of like, it's odd. Like it reminds me of like when Arrested Development came back, and they were trying to do like one episode per character instead of intersplicing the way that like shows used to go. And then I think they even re-released it recut like a normal TV show. But that's how I describe this movie. It's almost like an episode of Twin Peaks where they separated the FBI stuff and all the kid melodrama, Degrassi stuff, which would usually like just kind of flip-flop scene to scene.
Yeah.
So, so you just get this like, huge dose of just like people cheating on each other and doing drugs.
Yeah, and like that's the thing that I think the thing I like about this movie the most is the FBI stuff. And I don't like the Twin Peaks stuff because, I don't know, I think I prefer getting all of this information from people telling you that this happened a week ago in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's almost like Laura Palmer becomes almost like a Jesus figure where it's like, I don't need to know what happened with them 33 years. I need to know he was a baby, and then they put him on the cross.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, she's like I said, actress is great. She just kills it. But watching this movie, I'm like, I don't like Laura Palmer, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I don't like I know she's fucked up and she's got stuff going on. Yeah. She's got stuff going on.
But it's also a lack of time thing. Like you it doesn't give you a good sense of why everybody thought she was this darling.
Exactly.
All you're seeing is the darkness.
Yeah, and I don't.
Right.
Yeah, she's just. Yeah, no, I never get I never get her as a normal person.
Yeah,
ever.
You need things to like slowly ramp up, but you can't because you spent your first hour doing FBI stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I like the things in Twin Peaks happening with the gloss and sheen of the ABC soap opera over it, like the original show does. And so when I see this and there are people in Twin Peaks, Bobby's killing guys and Laura's snorting coke at school and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, that breaks the mystique for me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do love it. It's something that I love about season 3 very much. Is the FBI stuff. Is when you get to the FBI and you learn about Blue Rose and stuff like that. It's like, oh, something much, much, much more serious is happening here, and that feels like it fits with the FBI. That's why I love the Philip Jeffries stuff so much.
Yeah.
And then we cut over to Twin Peaks, and I'm like, yeah, this is just Twin Peaks in a light that I don't love, but I do love it in the 3rd season.
Yeah.
When we get modern day Twin Peaks and things have kind of gone to shit and people are a little worse, and that feels right to me because it's 2017.
Yeah.
And this is how all TV shows are, and this is how we all know of this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it still looks like the 90s television show Twin Peaks, so it is just a little jarring to see, and it just doesn't sit with me perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's almost hard to talk about this half because there are interesting scenes like when Donna and Laura go to party all night or whatever. I love that it's loud, that the whole thing needs subtitles. It's very visually stimulating. A lot of this movie is very loud, actually.
Yeah.
Very loud stuff happens.
That scene in the bar with the subtitles, I remember reading forever ago. David Lynch was going back and forth on whether or not he should put subtitles in that scene, so much to the point that in some countries it has subtitles and others it doesn't, because he was changing minute to minute. So it was releasing in this country and he's like, subtitles, and then next week in another country he's like, take the subtitles out.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the ultimate problem with the Twin Peaks half, is that like, I don't know, I'm always left with a sense of like, yeah, I kind of got all this from like my own inferences about like the things that had been said. Like I pieced this story together. You know, I didn't need to see any of this really.
Yeah, I think the thing I get when it comes to like understanding Twin Peaks and building my understanding of what's happening in Twin Peaks is the stuff that happens in the lodge and with the FBI. I think is the important thing that happens in these movies. Like the Ring is such a big part of season 3, and you get introduced to it here and stuff like that. That, yeah, like you said, I feel like the week leading up to Laura is definitely would be a great, like, it's just bread and butter a David Lynch film about this relationship between this girl and her father who has been abusing
It's not bad.
her.
I like it. I do like it.
It just doesn't feel like there's enough time for it, like you were saying earlier. Like, because we have the FBI and the Black Lodge stuff placed in here, it doesn't feel like that gets enough time to breathe for me.
Yeah. So that's ultimately what I'm saying is I like everything about it, but yeah, it is, you know, one of those things where it does feel like a small piece of a much larger thing, and not in the sense that like it's a small piece of Twin Peaks or whatever, but it seems like a small piece of like what it was intended to be or was trying to be accomplished. And it's almost like maybe it, you know, again, like I don't even know if movie was the right, you know, format. Like, but again, like that was the offer at the time. I'm sure he couldn't get another TV show or season or something. But if it was a fleshed out season that was a prequel season, I'm sure it could have been a much more.
Also, something I think that might be a big factor in this and how we feel about it is that Mark Frost didn't write any of this. He's an executive producer because he has his name attached to everything Twin Peaks. It's like a contractual thing, I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, no, he didn't write any of this with David Lynch. He didn't do anything with this movie.
But this thing's also chock full of great like imagery that just always stick with me. Like I love Leland with both girls tied up, but like almost in a cartoony way where like it seems like a 1920s silent film. Like they could easily be able to get away from him.
Yeah.
And then also like for some reason someone's flashlighting
That's
their
something that they do in Twin Peaks all the time that I love because it's like such a cheap effect and you know exactly what's happening, but it just works in Twin Peaks. Like when they're like walking through the forest and there's just a flashlight going crazy. It's like that's so cheap and I know exactly what it is, but it just does something to me. When I see it, I just feel a certain way and it works.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps up all I can really say about the Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
I think it's a B+ for me. I like it quite a bit, but yeah, like I said, it also has problems and you know, I don't think it's I think it ultimately, you know, it's cross to bear is that it is a TV show movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's no different to some degree than like a Sex and the City the movie. But it just happens to be made by like, you know, one of the greatest American directors of all time. So it's chock full of things that are of value.
Yeah.
And it tells a good story. It does. And you could probably even watch this thing without having seen Twin Peaks.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
And I love it. I think it's good. Was that?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things. I think I can't remember specifics, but I remember clocking something while watching it, having not seen Twin Peaks in a while, while watching this movie the other day, being like, oh, right, that's what they're talking about. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was the botanist, the plant guy that she goes and sees. Just there's no setup for him at all.
Yeah.
She just goes to that guy's house and he's in love with her. And it's like, if you didn't see Twin Peaks, you have no idea who this man is.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what the relationship is or why she's coming here.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens in weird movies, though.
True.
You know? But anyways, how do you feel about it? Wrap up. What you got?
I'm going to give it a C.
C?
I don't love this movie, but god damn it, do I love David Bowie's Philip Jeffries. Like, he is, I think in the grand scheme of things, the most interesting character in Twin Peaks to me. Like, he's the reason I've read like supplemental content written by Mark Frost and stuff like that, because I'm like, I gotta know more about this Philip Jeffries. And yeah, I really do kind of wish that David Lynch had made the 4 other movies. I think those would have been cool to see. But also, I don't think I would have gotten my precious Twin Peaks: The Return, which I love more than life itself. So it's such a big commitment, and we talk about it all the time. I wanna do Twin Peaks for this show one of these days, because I wanna in depth talk about season 3 with you so bad, because I love it so much.
Yeah. But I think for that now that's that. Mattress Man.
Do you want to talk about what we're maybe doing next week?
God, I always forget about that. Okay, so what's going on next week is you're out of town.
Yes.
So I believe there are 2 potential things that could happen. We'll just see. Because it's last minute, scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
No idea what could happen. Option A is that my friend, my dear and old friend, Evan, comes by and we chat about Goodfellas. Option B is, you know, if for some reason that falls through or whatever, I may do a podcast with my brother, and that would be TBD in terms of what movie that is. It really would be TBD. So,
Can I pick a movie for you and Donald to watch?
that could be the case.
Not Shape of Water. because you mentioned that the other day. I'd really love to see Shape of Water with you. I don't know. That'd be TBD. I'd have to think about it. Or also, no, fuck you. You do it. I'm on vacation.
And then I think that's that, Mattress Man. Unless you want to say goodbye for the week.
No.
No goodbye. Okay, then yeah, that really is that, Mattress Man. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,